Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Coach Timmy, and if you enjoy the content today, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps me out. So today I want to go over some solo cash cup tips for this weekend. Yes, we are already into the first solo cash cup of season 6, and we've had a lot of changes. There's been a lot of things to talk about, so I want to be quite specific on some season 6 solo cash cup tips for you. We're going to be going over some of the specific changes that season 6 made that will affect the way that you should be playing solo cash cup. So like I said, if you enjoy the content, hit the like button and let's get into it. So the first thing to talk about is Primal versus Mechanical, I think. And I think when it comes down to it, it is all personal preference. But one thing that you'll notice is that I'm not saying the word makeshift at all. I think it is really, really important for this season, for any competitive game mode, that you get off the makeshift. It is the first gun out of the 2 or out of the 3 selections for a reason. It is the worst, and you upgrade it to Primal or you upgrade it to Mechanical from makeshift. For that reason, get off of it, especially I think the AR. After the buff to the shotgun, I think it's at least usable off spawn, but you don't want to be carrying it into endgame. Move on from it as fast as you can. If you want to go to Primal, that's fine. If you want to go to Mechanical to get the pump, that's fine as well. But I think the first thing that I should really be stressing, get off the makeshift shotgun, get off the makeshift AR, and then hold 3 utility. That's your best loadout, but don't hold any makeshift, not worth it. Alright, so the second one's actually going to be something that's quite micro, and I don't really talk about box fighting or fighting strategy because I find that that stuff tends to work itself out in the long run as people practice. Stuff that, you know, can be intuitive, whatever, but this is something that is extremely season and meta specific. Window peaks are 1000% meta, and some people might be going, what the fuck, window peaks? What happened to right hand peaks, or, you know, the peanut butter peak? This season is all about, at the moment, it's all about mitigating that risk of the Primal shotgun in your box. You don't want someone in your box with that thing. It is too strong. It's sad to say that we're still at a point in the game where we've got it in, you know, where it is that strong even after the nerf, but we've got to work with it, and we're going into the first solo cash cup. We don't want to see broken controllers, broken monitors, broken keyboards. Keep your edits to something that no one can jump in your box with. Window peaks are perfect. No one can jump in your box with that. If they do, you're at least got the advantage. Everything from there should at least be safe away from the Primal shotgun, because the Primal's not good through windows as well. If you prefer the spaz, fantastic, go with that. But even if you have the Primal, I would still be keen on making sure that you had the advantage in that way. Avoid that kind of one-on-one confrontation like that. But for me, as I said, 110% window peaks are meta this season. Now this third tip might again be something that a lot of people won't think about, but I think it's again something that's really important to just at least mention to people out there who are struggling for a new trio going into the next FNCS. This is the tournament or the solo cash cup that you want to take the most serious. If you have a good placement in this cash cup coming up, people will notice that. Think of someone like Nubatun. He won a solo cash cup and he immediately went from trioing from people who I can't even remember to now trioing with Rel and Fresh and the twins. So there is a huge jump in skill, not in skill, but in the perception of skill there. I think having a really good solo cash cup this season is a great way to demonstrate to your peers who might be overlooking your talent, who you feel might be overlooking your talent, that you are worth considering being on their team, if you're struggling, of course. It seems like not a huge tip, and to be honest, it's not really, but I think it's worth saying because a lot of people out there don't take these seriously, but I think it's really worth doing, but particularly if you're struggling for a team, 100% so. So going into Season 6, I think it's really important to remember we actually don't have any movement going in here, and that's really important for any in-game meta, and even for solos where the in-games tend to be less stacked and there isn't as much hectic movement going on late game. The solos are going to be really interesting to watch, but I think we are now back in fray season. It's flopper time, boys. It really is. If you can get fish off spawn from where you are, you should 100% be doing so. When people don't have the movement to clear space early into, you know, the late movings of late game, I think it's a really important thing to be able to sit back and be able to shoot forward while in storm. It's happened so often back in the day, you know, in the old flopper meta, where people would be sitting back on low ground, taking floppers, and then they can shoot ahead, get some siphon, shoot ahead, get some more siphon, then take height. That kind of meta would not surprise me whatsoever if that kind of meta makes a return this season, in solos specifically. So keep that in mind. I think floppers are going to be really, really powerful. There's no movement to counter them. There's no movement to stop a late retake in that sort of way. So keep that in mind, and if you can, take some floppers this season. You know, moving on from floppers, we're going straight into another fishing bit of meta, and that's Harpoon. And I'm not talking Harpoon to fish, I'm talking Harpoon for late game. The reason so many teams did so well last season was because they consistently carried Harpoon. Now, when we think about the ideal loadout, most of the time these days, we're looking at a 2-gun, 2 heal, 1 utility loadout. And I think when there's no mobility like there is today or at the moment, I think it's really, really useful to have the Harpoon. Shooting back, it means you don't have to fight for a refresh. Sometimes you can pick one up just by, you know, harpooning the ground, back zone. That sort of stuff is really what you need to be thinking about going into the season. What have we removed? What is still in? And what has replaced it? We've taken out movement, we haven't replaced it with anything, but we still have some really decent utility to use. So I would be replacing the sniper slot in my solo cash cup loadout, or whatever, you know, the splashes that I used to take for 3 heals. I'd be taking that and I'd be replacing with Harpoon, because 1, you can use it as a box jump utility for late game if you're really desperate, and 2, you can use it to pick up refresh late in game if you need to as well. So a couple of nice bits of utility there for 1 item. I think it's really worthwhile carrying. And last but not least, let's quickly discuss Deadside, because it's something that has sort of been attributed to me across OCE as something that I've always been pushing, and sort of like become a bit of a meme. So we may as well have a quick chat about it, in that I think it is worthwhile playing to Deadside in solo cash cups. I really do. It's not in trios. It's not in trio FNCS. It's not in any sort of form of team game FNCS, because there's not enough congestion around you to farm Surge off of. But in solo cash cups, where the congestion might not be so bad, where there's no Surge to worry about, what you're worried about is consistency and getting to late game, getting your kills late game, instead of, you know, worrying about dying mid game and wasting time. Playing to Deadside is really worthwhile. So that is still meta. It always has been meta. It's been meta since fucking season 10. So get on to Deadside, farm some placement, and we'll see you in the solo cash cup, boys. Have a good weekend. Peace.